Assalamualaikum and a very good day. My name is Nurul Akmal Shakila Metrukisha, metric number 254327. Today I would like to present about Fred Edward Fiedler background. Fred Fiedler was one of the main researchers in industrial and organizational psychology of the 20th century. He helped shape psychology and was a leading in psychologist. In 1938, at 16 years old, Fred Fiedler immigrated from Austria to the United States. He learned at the University of Chicago. Fred Fiedler originally acquired his master's degree in psychology and later he got his PhD inside the field of clinical psychology. At the end of the 19th century, Fred Fiedler focused on an analysis of leadership and researched behavior and personal traits in detail. Fred Fiedler is a researcher whose theory of contingency trait was a predecessor to his theory of contingency management. Fiedler claimed that there was a direct correlation between the qualities of the leaders and the success of the leader. According to Fiedler, certain leadership characteristics aided in a certain crisis, and so leadership will need to adapt in the view of the new set of circumstances. This was the early leadership theory to forecast and quantify the relationship between a leader's trait and his environmental influence as an indicator of his effective leadership. Fiedler's contingency model evolved in reaction to the shortcomings of the two key issues which focused on the leadership analysis at that moment. What are the traits factors that make somebody a leader, and what are the personality attributes that make them successful?
The second part is history and definition of contingency theory by Fred Fiedler. Fred Fiedler proposed the contingency theory of leadership in his seminal 1964 article, which is Contingency Model of Leadership Effectiveness. Fiedler spent time with large group of people studying their personality traits and interaction with one another. According to contingency theory, a person may be effective leader in the one situation and an ineffective leader in another. Contingency theory is inadvertently assumed that style are behavior that cannot be influenced or modified. It can be contradictory to situational leadership, which stresses the need for the leader to adapt the situation. Fiedler believed that an individual leadership style is the result of their experience throughout their lifespan and therefore extremely difficult to change. Fiedler argued that one should concentrate on helping people understand their particular leadership style and how to match the style to the particular situation rather than teaching people in particular leadership style. These models are very important because it can be used to design management and leadership structure in the workplace. The leadership is based on a theory development after many years of research by Professor Fred Fiedler. The main aim of Fiedler contingency model 1967 was to find out how to predict in various settings which leadership style would be more successful. The concept of the theory of Fiedler is that the effectiveness of a leader depends on combination of two forces, which are the leadership style and situational favorableness. This part will be continued by Dizantin Ashikin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rozatin Ashikin binti Saimi. My metric number is 256049. So I will continue with application. So the first one is identify leadership style. So identifying leadership style is a first step in using this model. Fiedler believed that this leadership style is fixed and it can be measured using skills that he developed called least preferred co-worker LPC scale. The scale asks you to think about the person that who you have least enjoy working with, and this can be a person who you have worked with in your job or in education or training. Okay, you then rate how you feel about this person for each factor and you add up your score. Okay, so if your total score is high, you are likely to be relationship-oriented leader. But if your total score is low, you are more likely to be a task-oriented leader. The models say that the task-oriented leader usually view their LPC more negatively, resulting in a lower score. So Fiedler called this a low LPC leader. He said that low LPC are very effective at completing tasks. They are quick to organize a group to get tasks and project done. Relationship building is a low priority. However, for relationship-oriented tasks, they usually view their LPC more positively, giving them a higher score, and they are called high LPC leader. High LPC focus more on personal connection, and they are good at avoiding and managing conflicts. They are also better able to make complex decisions. Okay, so now after we done with identify leadership style, now we can continue to identify the situation or determine the situational favorableness in particular situations, and this depends on three distinct factors. The first factor is about leader-member relations. This is the level of trust and confidence that your team has in you. A leader who is more trusted and has more influence within the group is in a more favorable situation than a leader who is not trusted. Okay, and for the second factor is task structure. So this is referred to the what type of task you are doing, whether it is clear and structured or vague and unstructured. So for the unstructured task or tasks where the teams and leader have little knowledge of how to achieve them, this is viewed as unfavorably. Okay, for the last factor is leader's position power. This is the amount of power that the leader have to direct the groups and provide reward or punishment. The more power the leader have, the more favorable the situation is. And Fiedler identified this power either strong or weak. So from the second step, which is identify the situation, so later we can identify the type of leader that Fiedler believe would be most effective in each situation.
Now I will continue to the benefits of Fiedler contingency theory. Flexibility of the type of management is one of the benefits of Fiedler contingency theory. Psychologists studying leadership base their emphasis on the specific characteristics of leaders. Before Fiedler's contingency theory, they claimed that there was a common paradigm to be followed by all leaders. Fiedler's contingency theory was revolutionary because it was the first theory to suggest that there was not one way to guide others but with several methods. Fiedler found that different management models perform well for different forms of company on the basis of factors such as form of job, operational composition, tension levels, and how quickly transition was adopted. Fiedler contingency theory enables organizations to properly evaluate and adapt their management to particular corporate needs. Next, the second benefits of Fiedler contingency theory are emphasizing opinions of worker matter. Under Fiedler's contingency principle, the success of a leader relies directly on his interaction with his staff. To be effective, a leader must be part of the organization's overall culture. The leader must therefore show respect for his staff and be seen as capable of taking over the role of leadership. As a result, the leaders are molding themselves to the organization and are not attempting to compel the corporate culture to shift to them. This theory is also benefit in facilitating work design. Different types of jobs require varying degrees of organization. Fiedler contingency principle involve the following by requiring flexibility in the work structure. For instance, industrial and processing environment tend to involve a good deal of planning, since employee needs to be instructed what to do in order to accomplish a job. On the other hand, creative occupations such as those of designers or software engineers require less structuring and more freedom to pursue creativity. Fourth, by applying the Fiedler theory, everyone has a positive vibes that anyone can become a leader. Although some people assume that leaders are born, Fiedler contingency theory argues that everyone may become a leader in the right circumstances. Leaders must try to find their way to succeed. Business of poorly organized structures, for example, will be best to encourage leaders who have strong interpersonal relationships. Likewise, leaders with low interpersonal skills will be best suited to organizations with highly organized workplaces.
Okay, so now I will continue with criticism of the model. So there are some criticism of the Fiedler contingency models. One of the biggest is lack of flexibility. Fiedler believed that because our natural leadership style is fixed, the most effective way to handle situation is to change the leader. He did not allow for flexibility in leader. For instance, if a low LPC leader is in charge of a group with a good relation and doing unstructured tasks, and in the same time she has weak positions, then according to the models, the best solution is to replace her with a high LPC leader instead of asking her to use different kind of leadership style. Next, there is also an issue with the LPC skills, where if the leader fall near the middle of the scoring range, then it could be unclear which style of leader you are. Lastly, there have been several published criticism of the Fiedler contingency model. One of the most cited is the contingency model, criticism and suggestion, published in the Academy of Management Journal, volume 13, number 3. The authors say that even under the best circumstance, the LPC scale only has about 50% reliable variance. This means that according to their criticism, the LPC skills may not be a reliable measure of the leadership style.
The last part is conclusion. Fred Fiedler's seminal work helped to springboard the development of a series of notable contingency theories that account for both leader and situational variables. The complexity of contingency theory, however, has strong criticism for a lack of parsimony. Contingency theory has been viewed as a more mechanical research approach that neglects consideration of instances of extraordinary leadership and group processes. Nevertheless, contingency theory of leadership remains an important contribution to the understanding of contingency effectiveness. Contingency theory is a general theory which says that there is no one singular best way to structure your organization and lead your team. Instead, the best way to do this will be contingent on the situation. So, contingency theory examines how best to run your team or organization given different situation. Another way to say this is that the best leadership style will be contingent on the situation. Thank you. That's all for our group.